Hello, hello. We have a guest. It's cold in here, and Augie has claimed my lap. So it shouldn't limit it. Oh, you don't have to go. You just get more comfortable. Okay. Okay. Got it. All right. So okay. So we're going to fingerspell the months, and then there's some vocab for the seasons of the year, and also some other time-related signs, which we'll look at in just a second. So if we scan down. So the goal is to work on fingerspelling, and there'll be some clues about how to fingerspell better, producing it, but also helping with receptive fingerspelling skills. And then we'll do some signs for the 4 seasons and a couple of other time-related signs. Most of them we've already sort of hinted at if we haven't already taught, but we're going to hit on a few in here. This is a pretty short lecture, especially shorter than the last one. The first one of every chapter is huge, or every unit. So we've got all the months, and then tendency, things that happen like, in this time of year in summer, it tends to be like this. We're going to teach that sign. Begin, start, begin something, start something. Long time, short time, rock, stone, South America. I know these seem like, why are all these together? They're coming from the different stories, and things like that. Why did I leave that so large? Okay, well, anyway. Like it's hot in the summertime, that kind of thing. Valentine's Day. Then we're going to do some 3 months, 7 months, 10 months, months in the past. Is that okay? I thought there was a 3 months with a dollar sign. It wasn't. 7 months from now. So 3 months in the past, 7 months in the future. Talking about incorporating numbers. And I think we've talked about the rule of 9, where you can incorporate hand shapes from 1 to 9. We mostly use 1 to 5 in conversation, but you can go all the way up to 9 to change the number, like 9 weeks, 9 months, things like that. And then past, future, how do we say the months, incorporating it with the future and past, and then every year, every 2 years, every other year, those kind of things. And again, we talk about the seasons. You okay? You okay, bud? Okay. So to start with, let's look at the months. Now, I put a video for each one. And if you watch how they explain, he's going to go through, John, with a creepy smile, is going to fingerspell each one and then show you the subtleties of it. One of the big differences is when we fingerspell months, it's like when we fingerspell apartment, that it's not regular fingerspelling. There are really 2 ways of fingerspelling. There's one where you're giving new information and you're being very clear. This is why I stress when you're fingerspelling your name, do it slow, do it very clear. Don't go for speed. You want to do it slow because then it's absolutely clear to the other person. If you meet deaf people, they tend to be very clear when they fingerspell their name because it's important information. I need to pause for just a second. Pause. Okay, I'm back. Sorry. Little pet emergency, and now I don't have a dog in my lap anymore. Okay. So each one of these will go through a little bit more of the subtleties of fingerspelling. So as I was saying, there are 2 different ways we fingerspell. One is to be very careful and fingerspell very carefully so the other person is getting every single letter. Most often it's when you're introducing yourself, right? Because you want them to get your name right, especially if your name is, if you're one of the 18 different ways of spelling Kirsten, then you want to make sure that the other person's getting that. So that is fingerspelling your name. If you're fingerspelling a business name for the first time, something that you want to make sure the other person gets every single letter, fingerspell slowly and be clear. The other way of doing it is what we call lexical finger spelling or lexical signing. And that's where the finger spelling is actually the sign. It is the vocab. So we already do apartment, right? APT. No one is seeing each individual letter. They're just happening really quickly. So that's the sign for apartment. That's not finger spelling. And oftentimes, the way the book treats it, and oftentimes people have sort of adopted this, is if you see FS dash, it means finger spell clearly. If it's a hashtag, like number sign, and then a word, that usually means lexical finger spelling, that it'll go fast. So that's a good way of sort of keeping that in mind. Sometimes people will just use the hashtag for anything that's finger spelled. But in this case, except for the short months, we're abbreviating. So we're not going to spell the whole word except for May, March, June, July, that kind of thing. April. So this is going to start to look at how finger spelling changes when you're doing it fast. The adaptations that happen. So JA, the A is not forward, it's the tail end, right? Because J includes an A, right? So January, and then we end. And you'll oftentimes see where it's like you'll see the N form and flip around. It almost looks like a U. It's most clear in June because you'll see the whole thing. These will go by fast. Their videos are going to be slow, but eventually you'll get to the point where context has set up that we're talking about a date, and then July, right? 4th of July, right? July. I know it doesn't look like I'm finger spelling July, but if you were to slow it down, it's J-U-L, right? U and L is a really easy transition. You'd almost miss it if it goes by too quick. And then down to Y, L-Y. This, I've made the recommendation before, is once you start getting more confident with finger spelling and you've got the letters down, start to go with groupings of letters. Prefixes, suffixes, root words, short words. They're good to practice finger spelling. So L-Y, 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 L-Y. And it drops down. L-Y, L-Y. Okay. So January, J, the A starts out sideways. The palm is facing sideways. So palm orientation is important in this one. So watch him a few times. February, we're starting to look at how the wrist moves, and that's going to become important for your receptive finger spelling. F, E, B. The F is almost forward. When you do F, boom, F, right? And then pulls back for an E, F, E, B. As you close those fingers up, the hand kind of naturally pulls back. So F-E, and then B, either up or forward. Feb, Feb, Feb. It's almost like you're picking something up and throwing it off. Ew, ew, that was lint. Okay, so Feb. March, M-A-R-C, and the C twists into the H. March, March. M. Try not to do an M like this, because it looks like, Hunger Games. M-A-R, Mar, M. M-A-R moves pretty quickly, right? It's very little change to the A, up to the R, goes to the C, and then swivels into the H. As you start to practice this, letters will start to flow into one another. There are some weird combinations that aren't as easy, but March, and I'm finger spelling every single letter. He's finger spelling every single letter. They just flow from one to another. The start and the end of each letter has now blurred. Now it's a continuous motion. So March is one, it's almost like blah, and it ends with an H, right? It starts with an M, blah, 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 H. March. Except that if the careful observer is going to see that you're hitting each one. M-A-R-C-H. The R to C is kind of the weirdest one. April, there are two different ways of doing April that I've seen. One is the way he shows, where he starts with the A facing sideways, drops it down to the P, up to the R, I, L. And it's almost a whoop, whoop. It's a little corkscrew movement to the outside. April. I've also seen it where it drops in this way. April. 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 Either movement works. It either drops to the side. April, or April. So watch. I would say start with what he's doing. All of these come out of once you've fingerspelled something often enough and it gets fast enough, it takes on a shape of its own. May. May looks like you're just doing this. So it's M-A-Y. So M is a little bit forward, boom, and then pull back a little bit for the A. So tip the wrist back a little bit and then drop down to the Y. May. It's almost like you're tipping the hand back, M-A-Y. M-A-Y. May. At speed. Right. It looks like my, but the A is hidden in the middle. June. J-U. And now again, remember when we did fur, when we were talking about clothing, it's F-U-R. So the U-R is the U preps for the R. Similar thing happens, J up into the U sideways, drop it down to the N, pull back E. June. J-U-N-E. J-U-N-E. Right. So you can watch him do it with his creepy smile. July, same thing, J-U, and then it goes up to an L and drops down to a Y. July. J-U-L-Y. So J to a sideways U, turn it forward for an L, and drop it down for a Y. Okay? August. Now, we're going back to abbreviating. So we did January, February. Forward to May. June, forward. July, forward. August. A-U-G. So take the A, open up to the U, and then drop it to the G. Sort of drop and twist. Og. September, S-E, the P drops down and pulls back up to a T. It pulls back a little bit. It's like it snaps back. Like apartment, A-P-T. Sept, S-E, drop down P-T. So the S-E pulls back a little bit. Oct looks like this. So O-C-T. The C looks like it just exploded, but it really does go to a C. Sometimes it's a sloppy C. O-C, October. And there's a little bounce. Right. Sound effect. November. November's a lot like February in its shape. It starts with an N, which is slightly forward, pulls back to an O, and then up to a V. Kind of like we did F-E-B and O-V. F-E-B and O-V. Okay. So it's almost like a shoop. That's the movement. N-O-B. November. February. My niece says February. It's February. It's time for Valentine's Day. So cute. December. Similar to November and February. D-E-C. Deck. The halls with bow. Holly. D-E-C. Dick. Don't do it in a New Zealand accent. Sounds like a different word. D-E-C. So D, pull back a little to E, forward or up to C. So those are the months. Watch the video. Make sure you're matching what they're doing. And really, the more often you fingerspell those abbreviations, the easier it will be. You want to be able to do it without thinking about the individual letters. So think about doing it with the sound. December. February, November. If you're thinking about the letters, then you're still in ASL 1. Okay. So then normally what I would do is I'd have you break up and just talk about, you give an event, and the other person says what the month that normally happens in. Or you would say an event and they'd go, oh, when's that? and you say what month. Okay. Can't do that. So come up with stuff on your own. Just tell people, even if you're just recording into the camera, and just say, okay. So again, they're not fingerspelled clearly, they're fingerspelled fast. So now the next thing is to talk about annual events. And if you remember, this is the sign we use for annual, because it means next year and next year and next year and the year after and the year after and the after. So it's annual every year. And it's literally, you're almost brushing two S's against each other, except sending your finger out at the end. Pew, 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 pew. So there's a vocab review where I include those videos because it's going over those at this time. So annual every year, annual checkup every 2 years. So we can do every 3 years, every 4 years, every 5 years. After 5, it gets tough. Every 7 years, it's easier to do it, to break it up. So we tend to go up to 5 every 5 years or 4 years. There's not that much that happens every 5 years. 4 years is a little bit easier. Talking about things you do regularly, like every month, pay rent, every month pay phone. So you exchange for a new one. Boom. So you take this one and switch it out, right? I'm gonna give you mine, right? Exchange. So every 2 years, it's 3 years now, isn't it? Even though the phones start to die on you after 1.5. So just kind of coming up with what are things that happen repeatedly, like something that happens every month or every year or every couple of years, just so you can practice putting those in practice, putting those in your hands. Now the seasons. So spring, there's a leaf, it's plant growing. So this is the sign for spring. Summer, you're taking your index finger and you're wiping off sweat. You're going to bend it, because remember, this is the color black. Summer. Black and summer. Slight difference. Almost the only thing that changes is the hand shape. Fall comes from the vocab comes from the leaves of a tree falling. So here's the tree, and the leaves are down at the bottom. Fall. Fall. Sometimes you'll see it here. And then winter is just cold. Sometimes you'll see it with W's. Don't do that. I'll have to smack you. Winter. Because it's enough. We say, when it's cold out, this happens. And we generally know that means winter. Winter! Oh, I repeated these because I was going to put in the signs with the icons, and you don't need it. The information's right there. So the vocabulary review goes over each of them. And the homework from the book, as I said, this is a short one, is you're going to see a sentence where they include the month or months, and you just write down the answer. So I've included the videos, and I will put the answers in. They're not there now, so you can cheat and look at them on the video. And then there are narratives. And with the narratives, there's the textbook. Here's the textbook. So with the narratives, what you're going to want to do is, my textbook has seen better days. Looks like I'm not returning this for my money back from the bookstore. What am I even talking about? Okay, so the homework for 8.1 is, or 8.2, sorry, is looking at, there's a vocab review, and then there are write the months. And then there are two. Oh, you know what? I put the wrong video in here. I put 8.3, and that's 8.2. So anyway, there are some. Well, that's weird. Okay. I got a little ahead of myself. The narratives are for the next chapter. So there's really no assignment. It was conversational stuff. So that's it. So really, it's fingerspelling months and it's the seasons. That's it. There were a few other videos that come from what they're talking about in the examples. Begin and start. So it's like you're putting key in the ignition and you turn it. Some people do this. In the videos, they tend to do this. I've always seen it this way. And I think that's because we're so used to a car starts this way, not this way. But some people do start. Same difference. Tendency. It's you touch your heart or you touch your pectorals, tend to do, and it just comes off. If you've seen what's up as and how are you question, what's up? It's similar to that. It just, rather than going up, it comes forward. Tends to do this. Beginning, start. Long time, you'll oftentimes see long. It's an L, but it's more the index finger that's important. Long time. Short. It's like two knives together. Short time. Rock or stone. So bang two rocks together. Whoa. Thor help. Mama. And South America. I got to look at those sentences because these seem really random. Hot in the summertime. Hot. Like the hot breath. Hot. Valentine. Just draw your heart. With your middle finger, just Valentine, or Valentine's Day. 3 months. We talked about incorporating numbers. 7 months. 10 months. 10 would be separate, right? So up to 9, you can go 9 months. 10 months. 3 months passed. 7 months passed. 10 months passed. All we're doing is we're saying the time and then putting past or future. 3 months in the future. 3 months will. 7 months from now. Last February. So it's this past February. Last Monday was 3 days ago. Week ago Monday is the previous week, right? So it's 2 Mondays ago. Next May, the next one in sequence, boom, May. Like we do this for previous, next. Before May, you have to do something. Next May, every year, every 2 years. This could be every other year. Spring, summer, fall, winter. So that's this chapter. That is this chapter 8.3, no, 8.2. Everything's good.